My gosh, Megan, you are out of this world. Can we get 10 last seconds before you go out of here? Let's go. Here she goes!
This was nearly the last time Megan and Tory were ever seen on good terms, until now. Word is a new video just surfaced that allegedly shows Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez at the hospital right after Tory was rushed to the ER following a brutal prison attack. Is there a reconciliation happening behind the scenes, or is the internet just running wild again? Let's break down what's really going on. The alleged viral hospital video. Tory Lanez just caught a serious fade behind bars that almost took him out. On May 12, 2025, Tory was rushed to the hospital after getting shanked 14 times at California Correctional Institution in Tehachapi, where he's currently serving his 10-year bid. This wasn't some minor altercation. We're talking potentially life-threatening injuries with stab wounds to his back, chest, head, and face that caused both his lungs to collapse. Prison officials identified the alleged attacker as Santino Casio, an inmate serving life with the possibility of parole for second-degree murder, first-degree attempted murder using a deadly weapon, and inflicting great bodily injury. This ain't Casio's first time getting violent in the pen either. He previously caught an assault charge for stabbing another inmate back in 2008, which added an extra 6 years to his sentence. Dude clearly has a pattern of using shanks on other inmates. The attack went down around 7:20 in the morning in a housing unit at the prison. According to reports, Casio used a homemade prison shank to stab Tory 7 times in the back, 4 times in his torso, twice in the back of his head, and once across the left side of his face. The prison staff responded quickly and called for immediate medical assistance. Tory's condition was so serious that after being rushed to a Bakersfield hospital, he had to be airlifted to Kern Medical for emergency treatment. A statement posted on Tory's verified Instagram account confirmed the severity of the attack, noting that he initially required a breathing apparatus, but later became able to breathe independently. Despite the critical injuries, the post claimed Tory was talking normally, in good spirits, and deeply thankful to God that he is pulling through. His attorney, Jose Baez, told TMZ that Tory is upbeat and a strong young man who's expected to recover, though the road ahead won't be easy. What's particularly sus about the timing of this prison attack is that it happened just days after a major national news outlet reportedly reached out to Megan's team, Kelsey Harris, and former DA George Gaskin about a story on potential new evidence in Tory's case. This timing has Tory's legal team suggesting there might be something deeper going on, which we'll explore more later in this video.
The only party that responded last week was Megan Pete's representatives with a request for more information. A few days later, Mr. Peterson's brutally attacked in his jail cell.
Following the attack, Casio was immediately placed in restricted housing, pending a full investigation by the prison's investigative services unit, the Kern County District Attorney's Office, and the Office of the Inspector General. No official motive has been established yet, but prison violence experts note that high-profile inmates like Tory often become targets, especially in facilities like Tehachapi. Let's talk about the medical side for a second, because Tory's injuries were no joke. The bilateral pneumothorax, collapsed lungs, he experienced is a serious and potentially fatal medical emergency if not treated immediately. When air enters the space between the lungs and chest wall, it causes the lungs to collapse, making it difficult or impossible to breathe properly. The fact that Tory is now breathing on his own is actually a significant milestone in his recovery. The recovery from such trauma typically takes weeks, and complications like infections, pneumonia, or recurrent lung collapse remain serious concerns. Medical experts who've commented on the case note that the multiple stab wounds also create additional risk factors for infection, especially in a prison environment where antibiotic-resistant bacteria can be common. Tory's legal team hasn't been shy about using this incident to advocate for his release or transfer. During a press conference shortly after the stabbing, his representatives made some explosive claims about the timing and circumstances.
After over 2 years in prison without incident, Tory was stabbed 14 times just days after a major national news outlet reached out to Megan Pete's team, Kelsey Harris, and former DA George Gascon about a story on new evidence in this case. You don't have to believe in conspiracies to see the pattern. When evidence was about to come to light, Tory was nearly killed. So let's stop pretending this is complicated. Let's stop treating this like some cultural war flashpoint. This is about a man, a father, a son, Daystar Peterson, who has sat in a prison cell for over a year based on a case that wouldn't pass the smell test in any honest courtroom.
While we can't verify these conspiracy claims, what we do know is that Tory's team is using this opportunity to push for a petition asking Governor Newsom to either pardon him or commute his sentence. The attack has renewed interest in his case and reignited debates about whether justice was truly served. Since the attack, the hashtag #FreeTory has been trending, with supporters arguing this near-death experience should be grounds for compassionate release. Others point out that prison violence, while unfortunate, doesn't erase a conviction handed down by a jury that heard all the evidence. It's worth noting that Tory continues to maintain his music career from behind bars, releasing an album titled Peterson earlier this year that reached number 25 on the Billboard 200. He's been dropping songs over prison phone calls, showing his determination to stay relevant in the industry despite his incarceration. Just 3 days before the stabbing, he had posted on Instagram about a new album planned for summer 2025. Now let's talk about the reaction from Tory's father, Sunstar Peterson, who has been vocal about his son's case since the beginning. After the stabbing, Sunstar held an emotional press conference where he expressed fear for his son's safety and renewed calls for his release. This is the same man who had this infamous reaction when his son was initially convicted.
I just stood here in this Los Angeles County and witnessed the worst miscarriage of justice that this world has ever seen. You want to know how I feel? I'll tell you exactly how I feel. I got some names that I want to call. Alex Spiro, Desiree Perez, and the whole wicked system of Rock Nation, including you, Jay-Z.
The passionate response from Sunstar highlights the deep family impact of this case, which has now been intensified by this near-fatal prison attack. Tory's supporters view this as further evidence of what they see as a system stacked against him, while critics maintain that he's simply facing the consequences of his actions. Let's be real about something else. This prison stabbing didn't happen in isolation. There's a whole backdrop of ongoing legal battles between Meg and Tory. Just this past January, Meg secured a 5-year restraining order against Tory until January 2030, claiming he was orchestrating harassment campaigns against her from behind bars through third parties. During that restraining order hearing, Meg testified via video, tearfully describing her ongoing anxiety. "I haven't been at peace since I've been shot, and I'm just trying to be unharassed, not only by the person who shot me, but by the people he's been paying to continue to harass me." The fact that a judge granted this extended order suggests there was credible evidence of continued harassment, even while Tory is locked up. The prison stabbing adds another complex layer to this already messy situation. Tory's legal team is now suggesting, without direct evidence, that the timing of the attack might be connected to their efforts to introduce new evidence in his appeal. This adds fuel to conspiracy theories circulating among his supporters, though prison safety experts note that high-profile inmates frequently face violence behind bars, regardless of external legal developments. Tory Lanez is currently recovering from a serious prison stabbing that had him fighting for his life with collapsed lungs. These are two separate situations that are being conflated, either due to confusion or deliberate attempts to create an alternative narrative around the original case. The shooting incident, trial, and conviction. Let's start with the incident itself. On July 12, 2020, after turning up at Kylie Jenner's lavish crib in the Hollywood Hills, a situation popped off involving Megan Thee Stallion, government name Megan Pete, Tory Lanez, real name Daystar Peterson, Meg's then homegirl Kelsey Harris, and Tory's security Jaquan Smith. According to what went down in court, the four of them were in a whip together when an argument got heated. The beef reportedly involved some tension over Meg and Tory's previous situationship and them taking shots at each other's rap skills. Things got so real that Meg demanded to hop out of the vehicle. What happened next became the main issue in court. According to Meg's testimony, as she was walking away from the SUV, Tory yelled, "Dance, bitch," and started busting shots at her feet from the whip's window, hitting her in both feet. She later testified that Tory tried to silence her and Kelsey by offering them each a milli to keep quiet about the incident, saying he was just too faded that night. In a CBS Morning interview with Gayle King, Meg broke down what happened during the altercation.
There was an argument in the car?
It was an argument because I was ready to go and everybody else wasn't ready to go. But that's like normal friend stuff. Like, we fuss about silly stuff all the time.
Meg also spoke on her initial reaction when getting shot.
I didn't even want to move. I didn't want to move too quick. Like, cause I'm like, oh my God, if I take the wrong step, I don't know if he can shoot something that's like super important. I don't know if he could shoot me and kill me.
When the cops responded to reports of shots fired around 4:30 a.m., they pulled over the SUV and found Meg with injuries to her feet. At first, Meg told the police she stepped on glass. She later explained this cap was because she was scared of how the situation might escalate with the police, especially with all the tension around police brutality against black folks after George Floyd's murder. Tory got booked that night, but only for carrying a concealed weapon, the situation took a major turn in August 2020 when Meg got on IG Live and put Tory on blast as the shooter, saying his team was spreading lies about what went down.
So I get out the car and it's like everything happens so fast. And all I hear is this man screaming. He said, dance. And he started shooting. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like he shot a couple of times. And I was so scared.
Let's talk about the medical receipts, which were crucial in court. Meg had to get surgery to remove bullet fragments from her feet. She later testified about ongoing nerve damage, difficulty walking, and chronic pain from these injuries. During the trial, Dr. Lee Hirano, Meg's surgeon, confirmed that x-rays showed bullet fragments in her feet. This medical evidence was key in supporting Meg's account that she caught bullets rather than stepping on glass. The legal proceedings officially kicked off in October 2020 when Los Angeles prosecutors hit Tory with 1 count of assault with a semi-automatic firearm and 1 count of carrying a loaded, unregistered burner in a vehicle, with a 3rd charge for discharging a firearm with gross negligence added later. Tory pleaded not guilty to all charges. During the pre-trial period, a few things popped off. In August 2021, Tory's bail got bumped from $190K to $250K after he performed at Rolling Loud Miami, violating a restraining order that said he had to stay away from Meg, who also performed at the event. In September 2021, prosecutors and Tory's team talked about a possible plea deal, but they couldn't get on the same page. The situation got even messier when Tory started dropping music addressing the allegations. In September 2020, Tory released an album called Daystar, where he denied shooting Meg and claimed he was being framed. A lot of people called this move foul, saying he was trying to monetize a serious situation. When news of the album dropped, the Breakfast Club host discussed Tory's decision to address everything through music.
Well, Tory Lanez returned to Twitter and said, "To my fans, I'm sorry for my silence, but respectfully, I got time today, 9 p.m. PST." And then he said there's a time to stay silent and a time to speak. He also captioned a photo of his new album's cover art. He said, "I said all I could say on this." So he put out a new album called Daystar.
Meanwhile, the hip-hop community was in shambles, with artists picking sides. This beef played out all over social media, where Meg caught mad hate and skepticism. Rappers like Drake and DaBaby seemed to question Meg's story and their lyrics, while others like JoJo and Kalani stood with Meg. 50 Cent initially had doubts, but apologized after the trial went down. The trial finally jumped off in December 2022, bringing all the receipts to light. Meg got on the stand and gave emotional testimony about the shooting and its aftermath, describing both the physical pain and the mental trauma of dealing with public scrutiny and online harassment. She revealed that the incident had her feeling so low, she thought about ending it all, saying, "I wish he would have shot and killed me if I knew I would go through this torture." One of the messiest parts of the trial involved Kelsey Harris, Meg's former homegirl, who was there when everything popped off. Harris had given an 80-minute interview to prosecutors in September 2022, backing up Meg's story and saying Tory offered bribes and put hands on her. But when she got on the stand in court, Harris pleaded the fifth and gave sketchy, contradictory testimony. The prosecution played Harris's recorded interview, which supported Meg's account, but Harris denied taking any bribes in court. Tory's defense suggested Harris might have been the one who let off shots, motivated by jealousy over Tory and Meg's situationship, which she denied. A text from Harris to Meg's security saying, "Help, Tory shot Meg," was presented as evidence. The forensic evidence in the case was a mixed bag for both sides. Gunshot residue was found on both Tory and Harris, and Tory's DNA was inconclusive on the firearm. The defense argued this wasn't enough to connect Tory to the gun, while prosecutors maintained that other evidence, including witness testimony and circumstantial evidence, still proved his guilt beyond reasonable doubt. A neighbor named Sean Kelly testified to seeing Tory firing, though posts on X later claimed an eyewitness saw Harris with the gun, which wasn't backed up in court. The evidence picture was complicated, but ultimately convinced the jury Tory was the trigger man. A recorded jail call where Tory apologized to Harris hours after the shooting, saying he was drunk, was also presented as evidence. While Tory didn't explicitly admit to shooting in this call, prosecutors argued his apology showed consciousness of guilt. After deliberating for 2 days, the jury reached their verdict on December 23, 2022. Tory Lanez was found guilty on all 3 charges by a jury of 7 women and 5 men. The courtroom reaction was wild, with Tory's father, Stallion Peterson, wilding out by shouting at prosecutors and calling it a wicked system. Outside the courtroom, Stallion Peterson continued his rant.
The only independent witness in this courtroom is a man whose name is Sean Kelly. He came to court, and our attorneys, he would not even shake their hand after he went upstairs with Kathy Taw and Alex Bart.
After the verdict, Tory was held without bail while awaiting sentencing. The sentencing phase brought its own drama. Prosecutors pushed for a 13-year sentence, pointing to Tory's campaign to humiliate and re-traumatize Meg through social media and music drops. The defense asked for probation, highlighting Tory's charity work, childhood trauma, losing his mom at age 11, and his struggles with alcohol. Meg, who didn't show up to the sentencing hearing, submitted a written statement saying she hadn't had a single day of peace since the shooting and that Tory had mocked her trauma. Tory apologized for his actions that night, taking full responsibility, but still maintained he wasn't guilty of the specific charges, later claiming on IG that he was only responsible for verbal and intimate moments. On August 8, 2023, Judge David Hereford sentenced Tory to a dime, 10 years in prison. The judge acknowledged Tory's positive qualities but emphasized how serious the crime was and rejected the defense's trauma-based arguments for a lighter sentence. After sentencing, Tory got transferred to North Kern State Prison in Delano, California to start his bid. His requests for bail during the appeals process got denied in September and October 2023, with the judge citing the violent nature of the crime and Tory's non-citizen status, he's Canadian, as factors that made him a flight risk. Since the trial, Tory's legal team has been on a mission. His attorneys filed appeals claiming insufficient evidence and improper admission of testimony. In July 2024, a new claim emerged from Tory's driver, who submitted a statement saying he didn't see who shot Meg, but claimed Harris grabbed the gun and Tory tried to disarm her. This statement wasn't presented during the trial and remains unverified. More recently, Tory's supporters have pointed to a statement from his legal team that hints at foul play in the case.
Mr. James informed Unite the People that he was witness to the conversation Ms. Harris had where she stated she had the gun, she fired it 3 times, Mr. Peterson grabbed her arm and knocked it down, and the gun fired 2 more times. In essence, Mr. Peterson never shot anybody, never even touched that gun, never fired the gun.
The case has continued to spark heated debates about gender, violence, and credibility in the hip-hop community. Meg has spoken about how the case highlighted systemic issues, including distrust of police among black folks and misogyny directed at black women. The most recent major development in this ongoing saga was Tory catching a serious fade on May 12, 2025, getting shanked 14 times by another inmate at the California Correctional Institution. This incident has thrust the case back into the spotlight and might have contributed to the confusion around alleged new video evidence. It's important to note that the legal system has spoken, finding Tory guilty beyond a reasonable doubt based on all the evidence presented. That said, the case continues to be a hot topic of debate and speculation, especially on social media where misinformation spreads like wildfire. Ongoing legal battles, misinformation, and cultural impact. Since Tory got cooked in court and sentenced, both sides have stayed in the legal trenches. Tory's squad has been filing appeals and petitions left and right, challenging the fairness of the trial and trying to get him a new trial, reduced sentence, or bail while appealing. So far, none of these moves have worked, with courts consistently keeping the original conviction in place. One of the biggest post-trial developments has been Meg claiming Tory's still on her head, even from behind bars. In November 2024, Meg filed for a restraining order against Tory, alleging he was orchestrating a harassment campaign from prison through his goons, especially bloggers, to spread lies about her and the 2020 shooting case. The 194-page petition called Tory a violent and dangerous criminal whose actions were causing Meg severe emotional distress and damaging her reputation. It included specific allegations, including claims that Tory was coordinating attacks on Meg's credibility through prison call logs, with bloggers questioning whether she really got shot and picking apart her testimony. This legal move led to a temporary restraining order in November 2024, followed by a 5-year civil harassment restraining order granted on January 9, 2025, good until January 2030. During the hearing, Meg testified via video, getting emotional as she described her ongoing anxiety and lack of peace since the shooting. "I haven't been at peace since I've been shot, and I'm just trying to be unharassed, not only by the person who shot me, but by the people he's been paying to continue to harass me." Judge Richard Bloom cited uncontroverted facts, including Tory busting 5 shots at Meg as justification for the order, which requires Tory to stay at least 100 yards away from Meg and stop harassing, intimidating, or threatening her in any way. Tory's lawyer, Michael Hayden, fought against the restraining order, arguing that Tory being locked up already eliminated any threat, and that the petition was just trying to silence Tory's free speech. In another legal chess move, Meg filed a defamation and cyberstalking lawsuit against YouTuber and commentator Milagro Elizabeth Cooper, aka Milagro Grams, in the Southern District of Florida on October 30th, 2024. The lawsuit claimed Cooper was acting as Tory's mouthpiece and puppet by spreading turning cap about the shooting case, including questioning whether Meg really caught bullets and sharing a pornographic deepfake video of Meg. Meg's attorneys, led by Alex Spiro, argued that Cooper's antics were part of a bigger campaign orchestrated by Tory to denigrate, belittle, insult, and spread false statements about Meg. In a major development tied to this lawsuit, on February 24, 2025, a federal judge gave Meg the green light to conduct a remote deposition of Tory in prison, marking the first time Meg would question Tory under oath since the 2020 shooting. Meanwhile, Tory's legal squad has kept filing appeals and habeas corpus petitions. In October 2024, false social media posts, including one from Academics TV, claimed a California appeals court had ruled Tory innocent and would reinvestigate the case. In reality, these claims came from a procedural order acknowledging a new petition from Tory's team, not an actual ruling on innocence. Legal journalist Megan Cuniff and X's community notes checked these false claims, but the post still got mad engagement, adding fuel to the harassment Meg was facing. Some of Tory's day ones have suggested his recent prison stabbing was somehow connected to new evidence in the case, as this clip shows.
After over 2 years in prison without incident, Tory was stabbed 14 times just days after a major national news outlet reached out to Megan Pete's team, Kelsey Harris, and former DA George Gascon about a story on new evidence in this case. You don't have to believe in conspiracies to see the pattern. When evidence was about to come to light, Tory was nearly killed.
During a press conference after Tory caught that fate in prison, his legal team suggested there might be a connection between the stabbing and new evidence they were pursuing.
The only party that responded last week was Megan Pete's representatives with a request for more information. A few days later, Mr. Peterson's brutally attacked in his jail cell.
The most recent wild development in this ongoing drama was Tory getting rushed to the hospital on May 12, 2025, after getting shanked 14 times by inmate Santino Casio at the California Correctional Institution. The attack caused both his lungs to collapse, and he had to be rushed to an outside hospital for treatment, with reports saying he's recovering but caught some serious injuries. This incident has grabbed a lot of attention, but it's important to note that it has zero connection to any video featuring Megan Thee Stallion, despite what some folks are claiming on social media. The stabbing, while serious, is a completely separate situation unrelated to any supposed new evidence in the shooting case. Now let's break down why misinformation like the alleged hospital video stays circulating despite having no receipts. Several factors are at play here. First, the case has been divisive from day one, with hardcore stands on both sides. Tory has maintained a loyal fan base who believe he's innocent, while Meg has support from those who see her as a victim of both violence and character assassination afterward. This division creates fertile ground for unverified claims that seem to support either narrative to spread like wildfire. Second, social media, especially X, formerly Twitter, can turn cap into facts with the quickness. In October 2024, we saw how fake claims about Tory being declared innocent spread like wildfire, despite legal experts debunking them. The same dynamics apply to rumors about supposed new video evidence. Third, the complicated and constantly evolving nature of the case creates confusion among casual observers, with multiple legal filings, appeals, restraining orders, and now Tory catching a fade in prison. Keeping track of accurate info becomes challenging for those not locked into every development. Fourth, there's financial incentive for content creators to push sensational claims. Bloggers like Milagro Grams, who Meg is suing for defamation, can build audiences and bag money by promoting alternative narratives about high-profile cases, regardless of whether they're true. Beyond the legal beef and misinformation, this case has had major cultural implications, particularly regarding issues of gender, race, and credibility in the music industry and society at large. Meg has used her platform to advocate for protecting Black women and addressing misinformation, as seen in her documentary and public statements. The case has helped spotlight broader issues in the culture, such as the challenges Black women face when reporting violence, as Meg initially hesitated to put Tory on blast due to fear of police retaliation and public disbelief. Her subsequent harassment online showed the extra burden placed on victims who speak up, particularly women of color. During an interview with Gayle King, Meg discussed why she initially didn't tell police about the burning.
You were afraid for your life at that time?
I was really scared because I had never been shot at before.
The polarization around this case also reflects broader divides in hip-hop culture and society. Some artists, like Drake, referenced the case in lyrics that seemed to question Meg's credibility, while others caught heat for seemingly taking sides. These responses highlighted ongoing debates about accountability, loyalty, and gender dynamics within the industry. The case has also raised questions about media coverage and public discourse around high-profile incidents. Some critics have noted that the trial received less mainstream coverage than other celebrity cases, like Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, potentially reflecting racial and gender biases in media attention. At the same time, social media platforms have amplified voices on both sides, creating parallel narratives that can make it difficult for casual observers to separate facts from cap. Meg's October 2024 documentary, Megan Thee Stallion in Her Words, provided her side of the shooting and everything that came after, detailing the mental health struggles she faced and her efforts to reclaim her narrative. This release, coming after Tory's conviction, gave Meg a platform to share her experience directly with the public, though it was inevitably viewed through the lens of existing opinions about the case. Meanwhile, Tory has continued to drop music from behind bars, including a 2025 album titled Peterson, which hit number 25 on the Billboard 200. His ability to maintain a musical presence while locked up has kept his perspective in the public conversation, further complicating the narrative around the case. Looking ahead, Tory is eligible for parole in 2029, with a full release projected around 2030, assuming good behavior. At that point, he'll be in his late 30s, potentially facing barriers to getting his career back on track, including the restraining order, ongoing legal challenges, and the cultural shift toward greater accountability for violence against women. For Meg, the case represents both a personal trauma and a public platform. Her advocacy for Black women and survivors of violence has garnered support, while her continued success in music and other ventures demonstrates her resilience. However, the persistent online harassment and misinformation campaigns highlight the ongoing challenges she faces as a public figure who spoke out against abuse. Thanks for rocking with me. If you thought this video was wild, make sure you peep those other bangers showing up on your screen right now. They're just as fire, no cap. I'll catch you in the next video. Stay woke.